Hello everyone, welcome back. After a day off yesterday, I've got a bunch more questions in front of me. I've pulled out one from Johnny Blue. Um, Thanks for the opportunity to explain this one, Johnny. You've got me thinking, and it's about the original Limit Is Yours video that we discussed a couple of episodes ago about sliding technique, how to do it. And Johnny's asking, in the 7 years since I made that video, which was obviously anti electronics, has my outlook changed on the rider aids that are on bikes? And I'd like to answer it in two parts because on one side, it's done something for the track day scene, and on the racing scene, um, things have evened up a little, and especially in MotoGP, as you can see, the haves and have-nots are. It's coming closer and closer together every year. You can see by the time difference between riders. But I'd like to say the reason I went to the trouble of making that video, The Limit Is Yours, and anti-electronics, and I went to the risk, the financial cost. Thank you for Suzuki for helping me on it, by the way. But without any financial return, was because I felt passionately that electronics were ruining, in my eyes, our sport. And that was 7 years ago. Um, and the reason I felt it was ruining our sport was, on one part, that if the haves and have-nots, if you turned up as a privateer before electronics, like I was lucky enough to do, you had a machinery deficit, but not a rider aid deficit. And a human, can make up for a bit of machinery deficit. And so basically, if you turn up as a wild card or a privateer to a world superbike race before electronics, if you rode your heart out, if you did something special because you knew the track, or it was you're a local, or everybody noticed what you did. The whole paddock went, wow, because you were fast on something that wasn't as good as they had, and you got other opportunities because of it. Um, and now, when the few riders get the opportunity to ride a private bike, a World Superbike, it used to be in GPs as well, but now it's World Superbike. Um, if they ride their heart out, do something special, nobody even notices. And it's so sad to me. It's like terrible. So that is the reason I made that video. And I think there's something else while we're on the subject. It used to be A and B, odd numbers and even numbers qualifying. I remember that at Hockenheim, must have been 93, World Superbikes, there was so many entries. All of the national importers from Germany and France, and some from Scandinavia, Italy, would turn up. So there's all these opportunities. There's so many riders trying to fight to qualify and to enter. And I know electronics is not the only reason that the numbers have just dwindled down and down and down. But if, I think is a big part of it, if you know that, you can build a private bike, a good guy in a shed, at home, can buy the bike, build it. That's what World Superbike is meant to be about. Build it and turn up with the local young guy he thinks he can do something with, or whoever. They have an opportunity to do something before electronics. Be roughly competitive. Now they know they don't have a chance, so they don't even enter. You know, and because they don't even enter, there's no longer. When we used to go to Phillip Island, and there'd be an Aussie on the podium or close to. Maybe even win. A local, Japan the same, America the same, England the same. It was super cool, and the crowds had the locals to come and cheer for. So the locals turned up, and all of that's gone. And no, it's not only electronics, but I think it's a big part. So, getting that off my chest now, I want to go to the track day scene and what electronics have done there. And I had to experience it really to appreciate it. I knew getting rid of the old model Suzukis and then the new ones turning up, that they'd be safer high side wise. That's all I knew, So yes, they're much better in that area. I can now feel a little bit more confident of dragging someone quicker to a higher level, and know there's much more chance. If I have that electronics setting reasonably high, like we were talking about a couple of days ago, if I have it on, say, 4 or 5, there's no way that electronics is going to let the rear tyre let go, even if he makes a mistake. And that's a really important point, because the more a rider has experience, the better finesse they have on the initial crack of the throttle, because that is millimeters. And what I've noticed in over a decade of teaching is this is the area that newcomers struggle the most, and experienced people have. And that is the finesse of being able to initially open that throttle without making the bike run wide, like run too wide, lose the steering basically because they've got too big a throttle opening, or if it's too big an initial throttle opening, lose the rear before electronics. That's gone now. But basically the finesse on the throttle is the only way to get it is time on the bike, So the electronics has helped in that area a lot. Then something else, probably bad for the tyre manufacturers, great for the rest of us, is I can now, I'll tell you how I used to handle this danger that I've just been talking about, initial crack, that people that aren't racers, experienced racers, all have more trouble with, is that initial crack and getting high-sided off it, especially when the tyre drops down. When they have less experience, they don't take into account, they're trying, but they don't feel that an edge grip's coming down until it goes and flicks them out of the seat. And so what I used to do is all my clients, I would put fresh rubber on, starting the day, including mine. As theirs wore down, I would get my mechanic to put their rear tyre that's half worn or 2/3 worn in my bike, and I would use that for the reason you get the last pound out of it, because of the experience on that, initial and edge grip feel. I would put the fresh rubber in their bike to keep them safe. And what electronics has done is taken all that away. Like, I know that they're safe anyway, so we all just keep our own tyres, run them till the dot's only just visible, and we all change our tyres together. So basically everyone can run their tyre right to the bottom now, not just the experienced guys, safely. I hope that has answered your question. I just about forgot there was a second part of Johnny Blue's question, and that was, would I give different advice for street riding versus track riding? And I gather it's still about electronics, and I'd like to say I think the electronics will keep you safer no matter where it is. It's going to catch those mistakes, keep you safer. But Johnny Blue, none of Moto Voodoo's advice, none of the videos I do is about street riding. It's only about track riding. Next up, we've got a question from Rick Del Monte, asking, does 300 kilometers an hour, so what's that? It's under 200 mile an hour, ever become routine? Does the fear ever go away? A really interesting question, and I've got insights from both racing but also teaching different people, different types of people and different levels on circuit. And this is what I think, is that nobody wants to get hurt. Everybody's got a inbuilt self-preservation. Racers have a lack of it, but I wouldn't say, you could say they have a lack of self-preservation, but I think more accurately would be to say that they have an ability to take calculated risk, because they don't want to get hurt any more than anyone else, but they're willing to step closer to the edge, because it's calculated. They know from previous laps they can do it. So to explain that better, you go out, 300 kilometers an hour, that makes me think of Mugello, and I love that last chicane onto the front straight at Mugello, and then at the highest speed coming up over that brow, I think there's not a bigger rush on any main straight in the world. It's amazing. And yes, lap after lap, you start feeling more comfortable about it, but it's more about if the bike's stable. First lap out, everyone, including racers, the alarm bells will go. Everyone's got them, and it's telling you to close that throttle and brake. And of course, the racer will do that, brake a little bit early, hard as they can, get it slowed down, and then realize, I could have stopped 10 meters later, no problem. And so the next lap around, when those alarm bells are ringing, it's a fear, he will hold that throttle on and go 10 meters more. So that's the calculated risk that racers take, and quickly, no problem, where others won't, So, for example, when I say others won't, I teach some people on track, and everyone's got this different level of self-preservation or calculated risk. So I will say to a client who is stuck on a certain level, and it's quite low, that level, I'll show them on the video, and at a certain point I'll go, look, it's like you're standing on the edge of a massive cliff, but you are 4 or 5 paces away from the edge, and you're going, come with me, let's take a step closer. It's no problem, no danger. The racers will quickly take that step, walk right up to the edge and know that they're safe, as long as they don't take another step, A lot of people will still be that 3 steps back going, So that's the easiest way to describe it. The buzz for me, I think it'll be for all people riding fast on track, is that those alarm bells are ringing, like I was describing at the end of the front straight at Mugello, but you're calculating into that area that what you can do, and you do that every lap, and then bit by bit you build the whole track up until there's quite a few places that the alarm bells are ringing, but you're doing this, you're getting away with it, you're doing the same because it's calculated, we're doing the same every lap, and a lot of the lap now the alarm bells are ringing. That is the rush of riding fast on track.